All right, people. You just gotta bear with me. I might sound a little different because I'm dealing with a bit of a little slight allergies, but not feeling too bad. I got a chance to check out Thunderbolts yesterday. Came out this past weekend, and I'm not gonna lie, this was a really, really good time. I've been seeing a lot of praise for this movie, and I think it's for good reason, especially after having the monstrosity that was Brave New World come out back in February. Yeah, this is definitely the energy that Marvel needs, especially going into the summer. You have Fantastic Four coming out, you have Spider-Man, and the new Avengers movies coming out, and I'm sure that they'll have projects in between those as well that are gonna be discussed and officially released in the coming months. I was trying not to be on my phone too much while I was watching Thunderbolts, but I did take a couple notes. I love the opening Marvel logo for this one. It pretty much captures the vibe of the entire movie. I thought everybody did their thing. I don't think you necessarily have to watch all of the movies that involve these characters. You don't have to really go into it understanding those storylines. It would be nice to, but they kind of give you a good glance of what these characters have already been through. So I don't think you have to feel inclined to watch Black Widow before this, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Ant-Man 2. Like, you can, but it would help. But they all explain where they're at and where they've been in good detail. So I really appreciated that. I definitely do like how all the characters were interacting with one another, especially given that, they're in a space and time where the Avengers don't really exist anymore. Watching this and seeing this new team form was really cool because, the thing that I like about these team up movies is that you kind of have characters have these small scenes that, more than the action and the combat and, the special effects scenes, of course, they always have these small character scenes where they kind of relate to one another or learn about each other or just kind of banter with one another. And I feel like there was a lot of that was really good in this movie. A lot of really good character work, I feel like. I really like this movie as well because it is super emotional. It has a lot of layers to it emotionally. I don't think I've seen a Marvel movie that really tackles such sad subject matter as this one does. I feel like this is a really huge study about grief and depression, and it literally just personifies all of that into a Marvel movie, which I think is really, really amazing. And I love how it actually had something to say more than just we're gonna make a team and make a new Avengers movie. Really like how there wasn't really a main villain. Like, at the forefront, you'd think that the Void is the main villain, or Sentry, and he is for some time, but it's not like, oh, we have to go defeat him. It really is all the characters having to defeat their internal conflict with themselves, and I thought that was really dope. Maybe at the surface level, you could say that Julia Louis Dreyfus, forgot her character's name, but her character in this is the main villain. But even her, you kind of get to know her a little bit and understand what makes her, tick and why she is the way that she is and what kind of character she is. And I feel like you kind of just learn a lot about the characters that are in this movie, which is really cool. Even somebody like Bucky, who is kind of the most tenured character in this franchise now, you learn more about him and like what drives him and what makes him more motivated to do what he does. And especially, I didn't finish Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I know that he had a storyline in there about going to therapy and whatnot, and so he kind of serves as this like guardian angel, kind of like guiding light for the rest of the Thunderbolts, which is like super cool. And I'm just glad that he has an actual role to play in what's to come, because I really like Sebastian Stan, and I think that I'm glad he just had stuff to do and he was an actual important figure in this, and he definitely propelled a lot of the storyline in this, the plot. And I think he also had the best action scene in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, his scene in the desert was super, super tough. I really like, he kind of had that moment to be like, yeah, like I'm that guy. So that was really cool. Yeah, and more of my notes, I said it tackles grief and depression so interestingly. Lewis Pullman was so good in this. I don't think this is probably my first movie that I've seen him in, but I'm gonna go through his filmography after and see if that's true or not. But my God, I really loved his character. I love what he did with it. I love that. I'm not a big comic, reader, so I'm not too familiar with who Robert Reynolds and who Sentry is. I could watch the YouTube videos and find out, obviously, but I didn't know going into it, exactly what his story was and what the whole Sentry program was. And I love that this was our introduction to him and who he is as a character. You kind of have all these established characters already, and you introduce just this random guy who's basically Superman. I think they really did a great job in introducing his character and making him somebody to root for, even though you would think that he serves as a villain. Because even when he's in his villainous state, it's like, damn, like, you feel bad and you feel like you just really want to help him. And then especially when you learn more about his character, that part of the movie where you finally learn like what created that void in him and what creates his like depression and sadness, like, I'm not gonna lie, that shit made me kind of tear up, and I was surprised. Like, I'm not really a crier when it comes to movies. Like, if a movie gets me to a certain point, I'm not gonna say I wasn't sobbing, but like I felt tears welling up just because of his story and like kind of like parallels and similarities that I could relate to with his character. Like, this Marvel movie really went there, and I really love that they weren't afraid to tackle certain subject matter, or it wasn't too kiddish, it wasn't too corny. It really talks about things that us as human beings actually go through, and what we do when we're sad, when we're depressed, and how we tackle those emotions or how we avoid those emotions. And it's really, I really want to go see it again because it has something to say, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was my biggest problem with Captain America 4 and the other fuck it films of Marvel's filmography. Some of those films are kind of just like $1 million slob, it's just movies just to put out movies. And I really love how much the messages that this movie had to offer, and really just how to tackle your inner demons. Literally, that's literally what this movie's about. It's like facing your inner demons and understanding how to navigate them. This movie felt like a damn therapy session in a Marvel movie, which is pretty insane to me. But I think it's also interesting too because Jake Schreier, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, he seems to be really good at just like understanding how to make you feel for and relate to characters, because he also created Beef, and he also worked on the We Cry Together music video for Kendrick Lamar. And when you see the parallels between Beef, Thunderbolts, and We Cry Together, he really has a good way of portraying characters that are flawed and that have problems and things that they're facing and trying to navigate. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how he's able to do it, but he's able to just make you really feel for certain characters, and you learn more about who it is that's on screen and how they kind of interact with other characters. Like, he's just really good at having that direction. Just small scenes where characters look at each other, or somebody says something and connects a certain dot, or just conversational pieces. Like, it's a really good watch, I'm not gonna lie. And it definitely makes me more excited for what's to come. Obviously, after this, we got Fantastic Four, but I will put up a little spoiler warning for this part, because this is gonna talk about the end credit scene a little bit. Now, obviously, the main draw of it is to set up the Fantastic Four, and that's exactly what they did. But I think what they did so interesting about it is that they threw in a lot of different plot lines that'll be apparent, I guess, for Fantastic Four and for after that movie too, because you have the discussion of the New Avengers. Once the movie ends, they realize that the name of it is actually the New Avengers. You kind of have that, and then at the end of Captain America 4, he realized Sam Wilson is putting together his own Avengers team. So it's like the Avengers in themselves, they kind of have that conflict going on, and then you throw in the Fantastic Four, who enters the atmosphere. So it makes me think like, okay, what is their movie gonna be about? Because if we know going from Thunderbolts to Fantastic Four that they've already entered the universe, is the entire movie gonna take place is the entire Fantastic Four movie gonna take place in their own universe? Is it gonna be halfway through where they make it to 616? Is it, or 19999, whatever the shit is? It does add a lot of different interesting questions and things to look forward to. I like that we actually kind of have a direction of where we're going, because for a while it kind of just felt like Marvel was just on a, quantity over quality kind of timing. So I'm glad that kind of hunkered down and started to make more sense of what they want to do with these films. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited, and I'm glad that we had this movie to, it's this movie isn't a filler movie. I don't think there's definitely not that much like, oh, fight the bad guys and save the day and stuff like that. Like, they definitely do save the day, but you just learn so much about them. And I think we needed this movie to kind of move forward into the later conflicts that we have. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time. I might go see this again, honestly. I really did have a super time watching this. Just some more of my notes. Lewis Pullman is really good. Winter Soldier desert scene was fire. Red Guardian was hilarious. He was very stupid and annoying, but just like, he's just such a dad in this movie, which is dope. He's definitely the comic relief character. He just hams it up a lot, but it's just like, you just want to see him win. And he was actually getting busy when it came to the fighting scenes too, so that was cool. Yeah, Sentry is wacky. That was another note. That scene where he just took out the Thunderbolts, like, without even like batting an eye, like he was doing it like thinking about some other shit. Like, he wasn't even really paying them no mind. He took out a team of 5 superheroes like it was nothing. I thought that was really dope. That scene was really crazy. But yeah, I super enjoyed how they created his character. And literally the scene where, him and Yelena are talking in the attic, that's where the tears started welling up in my eyes. I literally said, I have tears in my eyes. What the fuck, Marvel? Like I said, it wasn't it wasn't, Titanic level tears, but they were there. They were definitely there. And just, his reactions and his, Lewis did his thing. I'm not gonna lie. Lewis Pullman really did his thing. Some of the last notes I said, mentioning meth in a Marvel movie, I did not think we would see this. They openly mentioned the fact that Bob was a meth addict twice. He could have just been a drunk. He could have just been, could have made him anything. But they like specifically mentioned like, yeah, he was a hard meth addict. Like, even to the point where they like kind of joked about it. He kind of made a joke about it. I dig that though. Let's make these characters feel realistic. Let's give them some actual, pain and things to talk about. So I thought that was really cool. The one thing I did think maybe that I didn't like so much, it did end pretty abruptly. I don't think there was really much more to discuss, honestly, once that ending came in and you realize the press conference and she calls them the new Avengers and whatnot. Yeah, it was just pretty abrupt though. Like, I thought it was gonna be at least another like 5-10 minutes to kind of just wrap it up, but it was like as soon as they finished up, they kind of just announced that, and then the movie ended, which I don't really have a problem with. I just thought it was gonna have a little bit more wrap up time, but it's not. That's just kind of a nitpick, honestly. I like that there wasn't really a villain for real, just internal conflict. Yeah, I think that's the main thing about this that was really cool. It wasn't really a big bad, even though when the Void was doing his thing, it was very like terrifying. I'm not gonna lie, like the way that he was, just turning people into shadows and shit, like that shit was really, really creepy. And his whole design, like just the blackout design with the eyes, was pretty crazy. I really, really enjoyed that. And the last one I said is the post-credit scene is tough. They introduce a lot of different conflicts that are gonna show up in these next films. So we just have more direction of where we're going. So I think they really needed this movie to work. For one, they needed this movie to be not just a good movie, but a movie that people will talk highly about and create some, anticipation around these later movies. Because if this movie doesn't work, then you could kind of have Fantastic Four be that, but I think that, outside of those 4 characters, you need the rest of the Marvel characters that we already have to have some sort of, you need the audience to have some sort of care about those characters. So I think that this did a really good job in establishing who the new group, or one group that we're going to follow, just learning more about them and just them having just character work. I think it was really good. So yeah, go check this one out. I'll say it was way better than Captain America 4. And they literally, in my Captain America 4 review, I literally said that they could have discussed what happened in that movie in like a 2-minute, 5-minute scene in another movie, and that's literally what they did in Thunderbolts. Like, she brought it up, it literally explained the entire plot of that movie in less than a minute, and then explained why, the aftermath of it. And I'm like, wow, okay, yes, thank you for actually listening to me. Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. I meant to make a note of that. But yeah, go check this one out. This one was a good watch. And I'm excited to see what they got coming up after. This one's getting a little long, so I'm gonna go make some more tea. Let me know if you like it, disliked it, if you liked it, what worked for you, how did this movie make you feel, because it did make me feel a lot of different things, I'm not gonna lie. If you disliked it, what could have been different about it, what didn't you like, what do you wish was different about it, just let me know. Let's have a discussion in the comments. But thank y'all for watching. Tune into the next Good Watch review coming up very soon. And until then, be safe. Tackle them demons that you got, because we all got them. Don't avoid it. Don't let it fester and stuff it down. Like, actually confront it, and I promise you'll feel better. I ain't a therapist though, but if it helps, it helps. Thank you for watching again. Thank you all. Love you. Later.